to the SPL. Luminosity taking on Denial here. Denial looking like the big boys right now, tied for first at 10 points, and Luminosity doing much better than I think a lot of people expected right now, coming in at third place with 8 points.
Especially with their addition of Mass and XenoTronics coming from mid and jungle. That's not normally something that's easy to transition into, but Denial have done the same thing though with Hurriwind and Homiefe, and they've made it work.
Yeah, with all the stars, looking at all these top teams right now, Enemy, Soar, Denial, LG, Eager, like we almost thought that Luminosity would probably be the one to suffer the most, losing Anister after having lost Baskin at the beginning of the year, but they seem to be the ones that are revitalized, I'd almost say.
Yeah, they've been making some really hot plays with every little thing that they've been doing, finding those 8 points. They split against Soar and Allegiance, found wins against Envy and Enemy.
It's going to be pretty hard though coming up here against Denial. This is a team that many are seeing as a new top card in kind of that core three, especially with Enemy slipping. Obviously, they're going to be playing later. PandaCat finally back in the mix, but I think there's some other issues going on there. Soar still looking good, and Eager, they've been dropping some games, so LG, really this team surging. How are they going to match up here against Denial?
It's going to be dependent on how aggressive Denial wants to get right off the bat. We've seen that they're not afraid to look for those level 1 5-man groupings, so instantly Luminosity, they're going to have to look for those early wards, and they're going to have to prepare every single lane for the aggression that's about to come.
And they have to be prepared for Homiefe. Like, this is the guy. If you're talking about Denial right now, it's got to be Homiefe. He is an all-star jungler. He's kind of the next generation Anister, a lot of people are saying. This is the only person who's been able to match up to his level of play.
Especially from such a young age, and coming into the DreamHack specifically, he definitely, I would say, exceeded expectations.
I would say so too, but all these teams are playing for their spot at hi-rez Expo. We're going to be hosting the Smite World Championship there. Tickets are on sale now, hi-rezexpo.com. Go get your tickets. And I decided earlier, by the way, I'm going to go.
Oh, yeah?
I decided I'm going to go.
What made you want to go?
I don't know, man. I saw the beginning video, the transition. I'm like, I got to be there again for the third time. Are you coming now too?
Oh, yeah, I was going.
Oh, you're going?
Yeah, I decided to. I got enough gems finally.
Now?
I found enough gems. I found enough gems.
Yeah, I think we're like, you've been beasting it out recently. I think we're going to have to increase you to 6 gems a day now here. But don't get too anxious just yet. Anyways, get anxious for this game, guys. Denial going to be taking on Luminosity. We're going to go into picks and bans here for game 1. This is going to be a critical matchup. Remember, everyone's coming to land, but the seeding is what's going to be important. You want to be a higher seed, avoiding those other top cards when you come to it. You need to be top 2 in your group land stage, and 4 are going to come.
And there could be a group of death easily between. There could be, Denial, Luminosity, Soar, Eager, Enemy. That would be like, those out of those 5,
they're not all going to be.
I'm saying there could only be 4 teams out of those 5.
But there's 5 really scary teams right now. You
amazing
don't
scary.
want.
And then Allegiance can still make an upset potentially too.
They've been looking really solid. Envy starting to string together some wins. They found that win against Eager. Into picks and bans, though. Homiefe not going to be allowed to play Wukong. We've seen this a lot recently. And anytime he gets it, he really seems to dominate.
And that's what you want to do. Target down the core of Denial, which seems to be Homiefe, been making the plays, especially when Hurriwind's right behind him.
I mean, look at that. They also banned Thor, right? We haven't seen a Thor ban or like early picks in so long. It's really been Homiefe who's been rocking it. Denial, they're going to respond. They take out the Nemesis pretty standard and also take out Terra. Maybe not a lot of experience against her yet.
This is the whole point of Luminosity's draft, is to force the Terra ban to allow them to pick up this Fafnir. But Denial, they don't really care because they lean so heavily on this Bacchus pick for Shadowq.
And probably going to be picked up here, at least in the first phase. And they're actually going to pick up Ratatoskr. And I think this is more taking this away from Mast. This week specifically, we're actually, even like today, we're seeing so much Ratatoskr be heavily emphasized. It really seems like this guy has become a pretty top-tier jungler in most people's god pools.
He's just so aggressive with his global presence, especially when you have a mage hunter in the side lane. You're going to be trying to lean on that to allow this Freya to get into the mid to late game.
Luminosity here looking to respond. They have a couple options. They could go for their jungler as well if they don't want it to be banned out. Soul giving them that flex option can go to the mid lane, as well as in that duel we could see that magical hunter versus magical hunter matchup. But I would expect them to pick up probably a jungler here in this position, right? Because then they can start looking to not have all their options banned away.
The Soul is going to be, like you mentioned, that flex pick. The jungle for Mask is very crucial here before the bans. It could be a Fafnir, unless it's going to be the Susano.
That makes sense. Basically another god to really match Ratatosk's mobility more than anything, right? It's going to be hard, right, with Thor off the table. You want something that can match that pace.
And I was expecting the Fafnir from Mask because he's known to make these kinds of aggressive plays. And on top of that, you have Scary D in the solo lane, so Fafnir doesn't reveal too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a flex between Mask and Scary D.
We haven't really seen that Fafnir in the solo lane too often. We know Divios and Scary really like to run it, so it's always something in that back of your mind. You're like, are they really going to be running the Fafnir solo?
I mean, that's the whole point of having the flex pick. And like we mentioned before, Shadowq loves this god. Going to pick it before the secondary ban phases come out.
And a very smart pickup for them, obviously, leaning very heavily on that engage. Also has a lot of options to kind of get out of fights, surprisingly enough. With his, chug passive, he's able to get that bonus protections if he does get into a sticky situation.
It's all about the knockups, honestly. Shadowq with a belly flop. You have Ratatoskr having the global knockup, which is very powerful. Freya is going to find those easy pot shots.
And whoops as well, right? There's a lot that puts you into the sky. Now, Whoop much different than a knockup, but still kind of the same effect, going to force you to purify away or something else. Denial, they're going to actually start to ban away mid laners. They don't have one themselves just yet. I don't think Freya's going to go mid. And Luminosity's focusing on the solo.
Knowing Hurriwind, though, I don't know.
I don't think Hurriwind's going to bring a Freya mid against a Susano, though.
If there was a mid laner that would pull out something like Freya middle.
You think it would be Hurriwind over anyone else? Over anyone else? I'm not saying you're wrong.
I mean, maybe.
I don't think anyone's doing anything crazy. Ullr actually banned out away from LG there. A little bit worried about the potential for I don't know if Xeno has an Ullr, but BaRRa. I don't know. That Ullr ban surprises me. An Ullr ban against BaRRaCCuDDa.
You just want to make sure that your dual lane is going to be aggressive nonstop, and having Transcendence on an Ullr, you can't really out-tree it. Like, he's safe from the tower.
Yeah.
So
also has, I guess, like in the matchup versus Freya, right, a lot of safe and free poke, which is what Freya really, like, she doesn't want to get into those early boxing matches. Robin, though, for Denial, so they're going to have the pressure in the soul lane for Benji there.
And something that I just realized is this dual lane from Luminosity, just the Fafnir alone, is going to be good enough to shut down the Freya a little bit because of the disarm and the stun. Every time the pulse comes out, more than likely, Jeff is going to find the disarm, look for the stun, delay the clear potentially from Denial.
That really good counter matchup. And I expect the Soul. We've been seeing, oh, never mind. Soul going to be mid. Jing picked up for BaRRaCCuDDa. We see him and Zatman kind of lean on this a lot. And Ataraxi, we see all the old school hunters prefer Jing over kind of anyone else right now. When it comes to like that hunter god pool, BaRRaCCuDDa, Ataraxi, Zatman, all love to play here.
The Fatalis effect that you get after you use the agility after the gust, you can chase down targets so easily, and it's all about the repositioning in team fights, and it's very hard to stick onto a Jingwei that's just going to use the gust on her own feet, knock you up, knock herself up, dash
and then
around.
she can reposition herself
and then she can reposition wherever she wants to, especially if she gets knocked up by Bacchus, for example. She'll just going to agility away midair.
Great counter matchup. And the final pick going to be Neith going to Vetium. So they have their lineup, and actually a lot of early kill potential, right? You have pressure from the Robin and solo as well as the Neith and duo, and then just the gank potential of Homiefe on this Ratatoskr and Shadowq on this Bacchus.
Well, it's going to be Jingwei middle for Luminosity. It seems that they want to have that kind of global pressure from the mid lane just to make sure.
I knew the soul was going to be BaRRaCCuDDa. I feel like this is more a play, because like I've seen like BaRRaCCuDDa's soul in recent games has been like insane. I feel like this is more a play style thing than anything else.
If you want to be aggressive, soul is better early on to find the damage. If you want to find the control, it's all about the Jingwei. And right off the bat, Denial doing a good job just grouping up, trying to find somebody out of position. Had they found Mask potentially, could have forced an early purification. But
not going to happen just yet. Mask is going to be fine here. And looking at the relics, Mask obviously going purification, but an early sanctuary for Homiefe. I mean, what ultimate is he really looking to deal with?
If he ever gets knocked out by this Typhoon without having his own global, without having the dash, he's kind of a sitting duck, so he's expecting a lot of follow-up damage. Now, it's not going to really be that impactful in the small 2v2 skirmishes, because Jingwei Susano is not the scariest thing in the world, but once these 3v3s come around with the Fafnir, that's where you're really looking forward.
Yeah, definitely have to be worried about that here. Early game, though, no shenanigans. Every team just going to be farming up their buffs, playing it relatively safe right now. This Susano, you know, we've seen him be played a lot, but he's kind of fallen off recently. And it feels like Ratatoskr is kind of taking his place in the jungle hierarchy. Like, is this just kind of he's not providing enough damage?
Well, it's all about the setup and the mobility. If you can find the place, that's what it's all about. In the last set, we saw Weekend playing fantastically with the Susano. Even though he was levels behind Mirage at some points in the game, he was allowing MLC Stealth to get the levels ahead.
And right now, Master going to be able to get these mid-harpies. But Homiefe going to find the stun on the XenoTronics here. Xeno level 3, and the team really doesn't want to fight Homiefe. A little bit worried about that rotation from Benji as well, as he was lurking around those fire alleys.
And that's why Homiefe tried to look for that play. He knew he had the backup to bail him out in case there was any sticky situation. Mask just looking for the poke, should be able to escape very safely. ScaryD, though, out-traded by Benji.
And I mean, this is going to happen in this lane no matter what.
Yeah, with Robin having the sustain off of his third ability, you don't really want to come too close to Benji at this point. But once ScaryD gets some levels, he's going to start out-clearing Benji very effectively.
Left-hand side, LG having the pressure, though, and JeffHindla off the mark there. I mean, that could have been a lot of poke damage onto Shadowq. You could see Shadow's actually burned through a lot of potions already. He's only got 1 health potion. Meanwhile, Hindla still has not only 2 health potions, but also 3 multi-pots, so going more for that aggressive style in lane.
The problem is, if you commit to Shadowq, you're also dealing with the wave coming from Denial, and that's not something you want to do this early level 3 in laning phase, burning your own potions, and that's why you have to respect the belly flop threat.
Yeah, but I don't think LG are too worried right now. It's a Freya. There's not a ton of instant follow-up damage. Maybe if that was an Uller, obviously banned away, like that could have been much different there. But everything's just going to be slow pace for now, just trying to farm up and open up their opportunities. What's interesting is these Hunters mid kind of delay early game aggression, I would almost say, right? Waiting for that, more late game.
Yeah, I would say the in-hands definitely hurt a lot more than the abilities do at this early stage of the game. So that's why you're trying to put the Hunters there. You looking for the poke. You have the red buffs on top of this. And once Hurriwind hits level 5, this could be a potential power play with Homiefe global for one of the sideline games.
Yeah, that double global is what's really going to be scary. And I think BaRRaCCuDDa is probably the prime candidate to get ganked more than anyone else.
It even could be the soul lane once these ultimates get traded off. It's very common for soul laners to almost forget about the globals.
You can actually see Homiefe waiting for these fire alleys. Also probably could have set up a gank there, but ScaryD doesn't want to give these up for free.
Looks like it did go to Denial.
To Denial, the Spirit Arrow clearing it out there.
Not enough damage on the Cudgel quite yet. Only being level 5 on ScaryD. So only level 2 Cudgel. Some people on soul laners will neglect their ultimate just to have a higher clear on their primary ability. So for example, on tier, you might not necessarily need the Lawbringer right off the bat. Having the level 3 power cleave allows you to clear more effectively and trade out better.
And like you said, though, probably going for that ultimate because he's got to be worried about the global presence, right? Hurriwind and Homiefe could set up a lot of kill potential on him. Needs to be safe. Transcendence being worked on for both Hunters right now. They don't have enough gold to finish it up. And still, no invades coming out. Everyone playing relatively safe, just farming up. It seems like both teams want to go for this late game. And honestly, both have really good late game compositions, right? You have the Freya, Bacchus, and then the other Hunter with the Neith, and kind of that same deal with LG, that magical in-soul, as well as XenoTronics on the Jing Wei.
And more importantly, the Fafnir on JeffHindla, he's going to have that coerce, especially with the area of effect coerce in Dragon form.
Oh, yeah.
The Gold Fury fights is going to make it that much stronger for Luminosity. On the backhand side, Homiefe looking for a play, but going to run to 3 members from Luminosity.
Mass teleports in, but Homiefe is already dashed away, so no aggression there. ScaryD had his blue buff stolen away, and Mast wants to make sure that ScaryD is still in a pretty good position, so he's just going to counter steal right there on the right-hand side, and still back to even. No one with even an edge in this, right? But LG, what, 100 gold?
But because of that rotation, a whole mid-wave went under the mid-tower of Luminosity, and now Denial, they were grouped up towards these left-side mid-harpies. 3 members from Luminosity should be able to secure these.
And actually, I don't think they have the timer. They actually rotate back into the mid, just trying to clear the wave. Maybe open up an opportunity there to pick off Hurriwind, but Hurriwind's just going to play it safe, back off, and no harm, no foul there.
So both teams are just looking for their power spikes. In the duo lane specifically, BaRRaCCuDDa finished off shooting the Mad Guy, but Vetium, he's going for the Fatalis before he looks for the boots. He wants to have the mobility, being able to kite in case ever he runs into Mast or JeffHindla.
And you can even see he's picked up 2 wards for himself, so Vetium knows, like, this is I need to farm up. I do not need to fight in this early game. Still, though, maybe an opportunity. Denial there. I guess they were just circling the Gold Fury. They've got their wards right now, trying to figure out where best to place them.
wants to be able to try to control the bottom left mid Harpies if you're at the side of Denial, making sure there's no defensive wards. You want to be able to rotate freely without getting spotted out.
It's like the best ward spot. And you can even see Shadowq actually placing a normal ward at the mid Harpies. And that's because if a sentry goes down from LG, more than likely it'll be really close, but more than likely out of range there.
Yeah, before the sentry wards had a lot of vision. Now, a couple patches ago, the vision has been changed, making it a lot easier to find these sneaky little ward placements. And now Luminosity, they're grouped up, going towards the left-hand side.
You can see Homiefe there actually sitting there, but not really going to be able to get a gank going, just trying to put presence on the map, make sure Vetium's okay, right? That's actually like really underrated, I would say, is how important it is to go to lanes as a jungler that you don't have pressure in, just to be there, just to say, hey, you can't gank this for free.
Especially with BaRRaCCuDDa being one level ahead. His abilities hurt really badly at this stage. His Stellar Burst is almost maxed out, and if he's saving an ability, having a level 2 Supernova with maxed out Stellar Burst gives him a huge play potential on Vetium.
Denial looking like they want to make a play right now, centered around Shadowq, but a good ward from LG going to spot them out. You can see that speed buff spawning. And Shadowq not going to have an opportunity, as actually LG has it pretty heavily warded up on the right-hand side. You don't really see those top mid-Harpy wards that often this early into the game.
No, not at all. And both of these Guardians having the Traveler shoots is why they're making these rotations so aggressively, looking for the plays, just to tag people, find some more gold. And even if they get traded out with the poke hair, having the HP 5 is what it's all about between these two Guardians.
Transcendence has been finished as well for both Hunters. However, XenoTronics able to get back in the lane first, obviously, with that passive. Has a couple more stacks. I think that's, oh, it's only 16. I thought it was 26.
No.
All right, he's got 3 more stacks. He's a big boy now.
He's a big boy.
Did he just have his stacks stolen by Mass, though? Oh, he's raging.
Oh, that's the worst feeling in the world. Stacks being stolen by your jungler.
Can't do
just
that.
Just got to spam VSS a little harder next time.
Basically, right. Like, well, I hope they're in comms. I hope he doesn't need to spam in-game VGS.
That's a passive-aggressive way of doing it. Sometimes you don't want to say it.
Like, listen, man, I understand we all need farm, but like, VSS, stop.
Or you just say it on comms. Instead of even pressing VSS, you just say VSS.
VSS.
And everyone knows.
I'm stacking, Mass. Stop it. Give me my stacks. Transcendence is actually one of the most powerful physical items in the game, so they are important. It is important to get those stacks, as Denial setting up here.
Homiefe looking for a gank, gonna not connect onto the stun, but a lot of poke done onto Luminosity. They're gonna reset, proxy farming for Scary D around that soul lane.
And you can see that presence that Denial put on the left Harpies forced BaRRaCCuDDa to rotate over, as LG want to clearly dominate these mid Harpies right now. They've done a really good job, and while these teams were only separated by 200 gold, now it could be more. Mass trying to get aggressive, trying to find Hurriwind. He's gonna backflip away. XenoTronics can't connect, and LG might have overstayed.
Mass in a lot of awkward position. Homiefe gonna find the kill, a nice job, but now he doesn't have his dash available.
Still trying to find kills, but he's gonna run straight into BaRRaCCuDDa. That's brutal. Great Sanctuary, though, gonna keep him alive. The ultimate Stellar Burst, it is enough, just barely BaRRaCCuDDa finishing him off.
JeffHindla gonna get rooted and belly flopped on top. Vetium credit with the kill, still in the skies doing a lot of poke. BaRRaCCuDDa gonna get forced to purify away. Not much mana on him, and now it's gonna be Denial walking away.
Denial with 2 kills, also the first blood there, and I mean, LG go aggressive, right, trying to find the kill, but they just seem to overstay their welcome and stay a little bit too long. I believe it was Mast the first to get picked off there.
He tried to look for the offensive play, got caught in a really awkward position. It's all the grouping up from Denial. They're not afraid to overextend together, whether or not they give too much positioning up in the left or the right-hand side. If you see one, you expect at least 2 more to follow shortly behind.
And you could see here, off of that, Denial closing that gap. LG had about a 1K gold lead just off of controlling those mid-Harpies, and now stripped away First Blood bounty going the way of Denial, as well as that extra kill. And so now they have some opportunities here to probably set up some ganks. Homiefe actually building into, is a Void Shield? That's a Runic Shield.
I would say, no, that's definitely not a Runic Shield. That's more likely the Void Shield, yeah.
That's a Void Shield, yeah, never mind.
It looks a little similar, though. But yeah,
come on, man.
Runic Shield wouldn't be a bad idea for either team, honestly, because of the Soul on one side and Freya on the other. So I wouldn't be surprised if a Soul laner would pick it up.
I mean, it's double Hunter at this point right now, but Vetium's still farming up for now. He's got his Fatalis boots online. Freya very item-dependent god, so definitely wants to get at least 1 more online before he starts making rotations. You can see he's actually bottom of the damage right now.
And survive the early laning phase, going straight into the Fatalis like we mentioned. His whole goal in this game was to survive once the Fatalis comes online, and now he's going to be looking for those plays.
Just a small grouping on the right-hand side here. We're going to have quick pause. We'll get back into the game here very shortly. And this is, I mean, this is just a very critical game for both these squads, right? LG starting to get stuff together. Denial clearly have their things together. Coming out as a new top team here in the fall split. LG still a little bit questionable, but if they could find at least one win here against Denial, they're a team everyone has to respect.
They're just basically doing their homework against both of these squads, and which is why we saw the Ratatoskr pick before the Susano. Maybe it was the side of Denial, like, okay, we're more afraid of the Ratatoskr coming from Mask than the Susano, and clearly so far it's been working.
Oh, aggression there. JeffHindla's going to jump forward. Hurriwind can't even backflip before he's died. The dot from Jeff, that was brutal. That was knock up into knock up there. That was nasty. This combo is disgusting. As Shadowq gonna be in trouble, caught in the jungle trap, can't even get over the wall.
He couldn't be able to even belly flop. There's just too thick of a wall, and that's 2 free kills on the side of Luminosity. They're gonna immediately force this Gold Fury. They don't have any Rav to confirm, but with the Coerce, this gives enough DPS. BaRRaCCuDDa's baiting on the backhand side, forced to use the Supernova just to disengage.
And he's still gonna get out. Gold Fury goes the way of LG, quickly answer back Denial's first 2 kills, and also take a 1,500 gold lead. They're gonna walk away with mid-harpies as well. That was massive. And like, I'm just going back to that mid-fight, right? Hurriwind got knocked up by Wingust, then knocked up by Mast from the pool, then knocked up again from, like, what are you gonna do there?
And the problem is, like, that's the one issue with knockups is, like, even if you use Purification, it has to be preemptively used to prevent the first knockup.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're gonna be a sitting duck, gonna get juggled repeatedly over and over again.
And there's no DR either. I think that's important. Like, okay, so we didn't even think about it at first, but look at this composition and think about knockups. Scary D, Oxform. Mast has the pool, which is, you know, a semi-knockup, and then his ultimate. XenoTronics has Wingust, and then BaRRaCCuDDa, his ult. Celebration is gonna, there's so many knockups in this lineup.
You have to just be careful with your positioning, especially if you're the Neith. The backflip could have been used a little bit earlier to prevent that knockup, but a great positional awareness from Luminosity capitalizing on Hurriwind.
And now, in pretty good streets right now. We could start to see Mast get a little bit more aggressive. He's finished his Void Shield. Same thing with Homiefe. They've got the same builds. And the Hunters going a little bit of a different style. XenoTronics actually starting for that Executioner more so than the Ick file picked up by Hurry.
It could also be a Aussie trying to go for lifesteal, get the early attack speed, power spike, especially paired up with his Wingust combination. That would have been a great opportunity to look for teamfights once this item completes for Xeno.
Like, do LG still just play this slow? Are they still just going to be farming out, you know, for XenoTronics and BaRRa to get online, or should they really start making aggressive plays
I think they're going to be looking for plays once the Gold Fury does respawn. ScaryD has been doing a decent job in terms of proxy farming and finding the back right harpies and making the rotations that he needs to, but he's still a level behind Benji.
And Benji here recognizes the gank coming on, so he's going to get passive, and actually a big rotation from everyone right now. 8 members grouped up here between the mid and the right-hand side on both these teams very early on, so recognizing that LG trying to put pressure onto this map.
They have to find something to extend their lead. They have a slight one at 2,000 after the Gold Fury. Nice play, and they're grouping up around these right side mid harpies, but it seems with a nice zoning from Shadowq, it should give it to Denial.
And that's going to happen there. Mast doesn't want to, you know, jump into 2 other members of Denial. They're a little bit too risky here. But, I mean, Denial here still farming up. They also still have their Freya. We didn't talk about it. Vetium actually getting one of those kills there in that mid lane team fight has been just farming away right now. Still bottom, doing less damage than JeffHindla. Obviously hasn't been involved in too much. And the main issue, though, wow, he's down 1,200. He's actually the entire lead for LG right now is BaRRaCCuDDa. He's
been doing a great job of farming. We know BaRRaCCuDDa to always love to farm.
Yes.
He doesn't take the team fight or the solo fight unless he knows 100% guaranteed that there's nobody going to rotate and that he's left alone, forcing an ultimate out of ScaryD.
Oh, and actually, you saw the charge from Hurriwind in the mid at the beginning of that. You could see they were trying to set up, and I love what LG did. They just go aggressive on the Neith. ScaryD makes it out there anyway, but if he gets stunned from a Neith ult, maybe he doesn't.
Absolutely.
Maybe he doesn't.
But not wanting to commit to that, Luminosity having to aggress onto the mid lane because they're losing on their right side tier 1 tower. A nice stay by Homiefe just poking out this tower.
And you can see LG not wanting to rotate, a little bit too scared, instead still remaining in the mid here. But they're not able to get anything, right? I mean, 14 minutes in, it's a little bit hard to dive a tower unless you have that, you know, full wombo combo of ultimates, which I don't really think LG have. They've got more of a slow, meticulous team fight.
I thought that for a split second that XenoTronics was going to be able to zone away Vetium to allow BaRRaCCuDDa to maybe find a tier 1 on his own on the left-hand side, because we know Soul with 100% heat just absolutely shreds towers and players.
And you could see also has the demonic grip online, so he's going to have that bonus attack speed as well as the penetration coming into those team fights.
Once the Obsidian Shard finishes, these towers are just going to melt like butter, and that's going to be a huge power spike for Luminosity.
And it honestly looks like it's going to, like, it's actually probably going to finish right around the time Vetium finishes his demonic grip. You can see he just got rank 2 there, so, I mean, that's going to be pretty close between both of them.
We just noticed a little play that Luminosity are setting up for. We saw the jet stream into the pull from Mask, and instantly, wherever Mask is teleporting to, there's a wing gust immediately from XenoTronics to follow up.
This is a composition LG has. It's the knock-up comp. That's like, you're just gonna get, you face them, like BaRRaCCuDDa's trying to knock you up right now. That's what he's doing, right?
I mean, we've seen it before. I think Luminosity, the last split, ran Athena Jing Wei with it was Incon and Oceans, and they run it into the taunt and knockup.
The taunt into the knockup,
That was the most obvious play, but now this time around, Mask and XenoTronics doing a very similar variation of it.
Just doing a really good job there of tag teaming those fights in the mid lane. And Mast, like, there's been a lot of controversy about Mast. He came out, you know, finally unbanned in Season 3. Everyone thought this was going to be like the hot guy in the jungle, and he kind of had a disappointing spring split, right? Moved around on a couple teams, couldn't really get things rolling. Obviously, there was the disastrous Envy season, but he seems to have found a home with Jeff and BaRRa here.
We saw that he wasn't comfortable at Envy. And that's what he also said in his interview, that like, even though, you know, playing with a fantastic group of players, some of them could have been too vocal for his liking, and that's why he felt better in Denial. And now at this time around, coming into the fall split, he seems to have found a really nice home being paired up with Jeff, BaRRa, and Scary.
Now that he got time to practice with the team, like, he got a ton of play with LG, obviously, in scrims, and it really seems like LG have been going very hard at practicing from everything I've heard here. They're going to go hard here as well, find the knock-up on a Shadowq. And Denial just going to back off. Hurriwind charging his ult, trying to scare LG away. But LG, they're not getting too risky. This Gold Fury has spawned, so they're still looking for that pick right now.
And the soul lane, Benji still out poking ScaryD, doing a good job utilizing that overhead kick to prevent the Ox from knockup. And this is something Benji needs to really do. Dive the tower to prevent the back from ScaryD.
And ScaryD here, both soul laners have teleport, so there's no worry about an advantage there at the Gold Fury as it jump in from Shadowq. The ult from Jeff just trying to zone out Hurriwind and Homiefe, but Homie's already taken to the sky there. The stun finds XenoTronics, who's just going to airstrike out, but here comes Benji.
And in the backline, Homiefe forced to disengage. Benji making the rotation Typhoon, knocking up Shadowq, taking a lot of poke. ScaryD going into the clouds.
Denial's on full retreat right now. LG surging forward, but the problem is Vetium's actually isolated himself. He's by himself. He's forced to ult very early. Coerce comes out, and it seems like Jeff wants to fight, but the call is to disengage, and LG just fall back.
ScaryD very poked out. He doesn't have teleport available, so Benji should be able to make a play off of this. He still does, as well as the meditation.
And overall, actually, Denial kind of getting the better end of that, pushing a lot of waves under tower in the mid there. And on the right-hand side, obviously, ScaryD going to be missing out a lot. Jeff, I think he was just trying to get the counter ward.
He wanted to really find that stunt because he had BaRRaCCuDDa right behind him. That could have been a nice little play. If you catch somebody mid-dash, that's the split second that you need to really find the kill.
And they knew the ult from Homiefe was down after that engagement as well.
Yeah,
right? He would have been forced to burn his purification.
You have to be able to look for these kinds of small itty-bitty plays, especially with, like we mentioned before, all these cooldowns are down. And being a very tanky Guardian, you want to position yourself aggressively. We saw how many cooldowns Luminosity used trying to kill Shadowq, and that's what allowed Denial to kind of turn things around.
And Shadowq, like, not even that tanky yet. He's picked up his Heartward Amulet, which is good. Starting to work on Spirit's Robe now, but I don't think he had the Spirit's Robe in that fight, if I'm not mistaken.
It's all about the Drunkometer.
Man, it is like, it gives you actually so many protections.
The one time that it's actually positive to be smashed.
Oh, right hand. What do you mean, the only time? Totally. Actually, trouble here. Shadowq gonna find the knock-up here. Mast is going to dash away. Homiefe in the sky. I don't know if he really wants to re-engage on this.
He's feigning pressure on Mast, but he forces the initiation onto Xeno, forcing out the agility. And now Benji, he has a small window to maybe exploit the agility being down.
I don't know if he's going to be able to, though. You can see Xeno still hanging around. Gold Fury started by Denial. BaRRaCCuDDa, his ultimate is online. Every ultimate actually online. Jeff just going to jump forward. Going into Dragon form, works as a Sanctuary, immuning out a lot of damage here, but the Intoxicate from Shadowq, Denial want to fight.
But he has nowhere to go realistically. He's going to be falling right off the bat. A nice ultimate from ScaryD as well, finding the kill, going back into the cloud for the regen. XenoTronics forced to use the Sanctuary just to survive.
3 members very low on LG, and Denial know this. They're pushing forward. They've taken out Jeff already. BaRRaCCuDDa makes it back to his tower. It's going to be a 1-for-1. Only the supports fall in that engagement, and JeffHindla, I thought he was out, but he kind of just stuck around trying to peel for his team, ends up paying for it with his life.
And this is where things are going to be really scary because you're dealing with a Freya now at level 17. She has the damage that she needs. She's going to try to go for the whoop. Finds BaRRaCCuDDa with a Disapparate that's about to pop.
I mean, XenoTronics has already taken out Vetium, though. He burned his ult so early, and BaRRa gets out as well. As Mast deals with Homiefe, doesn't let him take out his Hunter here, and now Denial are the ones retreating. How does this happen?
It's just a fortunate mispositioning, not having your relics available to survive, not having your ultimate. Vetium, he knows his damage, but he didn't respect the damage coming out of Luminosity in return.
XenoTronics absolutely shredded him. Homiefe has his ult again, don't worry. So LG can't get the Gold Fury. Massive back and forth. Overall, though, LG comes out on top, about 1 kill ahead, still about the same gold lead.
Benji, though, he took the wrong pathing, and he can't really move, though. Finally finding the ultimate through the wall. Ultimate from Hurriwind just to disengage.
A little bit surprising to not see Denial try and re-engage on that. I mean, LG burned everything trying to kill Benji. And that's just the power, like the power of a solo laner who doesn't have, like, if BaRRaCCuDDa's not in the fight, like, he really doesn't have to worry about Mass at all, or XenoTronics.
That's right. We saw how he was able to zone a few members earlier on in that little engagement around Gold Fury, and if he can take that long when every cooldown was used, imagine only half the cooldowns. He's going to be tanking for so long. He's going to find the slowest with a Frostbound Hammer, limiting the attack speed also of the Soul, despite not having much magical defense.
I mean, what about Witchblade plus Frostbound? Like, they don't stack.
I mean, it's a good tool, like, because you can utilize your Frostbound on a Hunter middle, and then on top of that, you're also limiting the attack speed of BaRRaCCuDDa.
Around.
Yeah,
yep.
So it's a double whammy.
And LG here, still with 1,700, like, that's nothing, right? 21 minutes in, right? This 1,700 gold lead is 2 tier 1s, which it doesn't even seem to be a thing right now between anyone. I think it's just BaRRaCCuDDa with the only real lead over his opponent. He's still got that 1K over Vetium. But Vetium, I mean, he's already finished his 3 core items, working on a Bancrofts as well.
No, it's just a very slow-paced game. Only 5-3 on the scoreline mid lane. Teams jostling for position. Great job by Homiefe, preventing himself from constantly getting pulled by Mask.
And he knows. I think they realized after that one fight, right? The clear combo of Mast, Jetstream into the Wind Siphon, into the knockup from Xeno here. Shadowq getting hit by that kind of knockup chain too. And this is just so scary. Look at that gust of wind. Like, it's so hard for Denial to fight into that. They're going to try, though. Homiefe in the sky.
Going immediately into the sky. Forced out the Sanctuary from Mask. And engaging back in is Denial. Vetium looking for some more kills. Hurriwind forced the Sanctuary in the back.
Benji just so tanky, and Jeff's going to push forward as well. LG trying to answer back, but BaRRaCCuDDa and Mast are completely zoned out by the Ravana. And the Whoop stops ScaryD from pushing forward as well. Core is still activated, though, and LG want to burn this, but half the team's disengaging.
Both teams are really afraid to really go in right now because of the magical damage between BaRRa and Vetium. You overstep your boundaries a little bit, you're going to get blown up. This is the late game where these magical hunters truly shine, especially with Jeff giving the coerce to BaRRa.
And shoutouts to Benji this game for Denial. He's doing such a magnificent job of just keeping BaRRaCCuDDa and Mast isolated from the rest of his team. He pushes forward. He's just so tanky right now, it's hard to kill him. And now that he's working on magic protection, it's going to be even harder for BaRRa to shred through him.
Yeah, once that finishes up, more than likely that he's going to be more effective in this backline. Shadowq hasn't been able to be that important engage factor.
He's kind of just died when he goes in all honesty.
He either dies or he's been able to get out barely at the skin of his teeth because of all the cooldowns being used from Luminosity, and that's what is forcing Benji to be that zoner and Shadowq having to play that peeler role instead.
Still no second Gold Fury, 23.5 minutes in. I don't think the teams are going to give up, though. They seem like they're going to, like, at some point, you're just going to farm up until everyone's level 20, and it's getting close to that. Mast 3 levels off, Xeno 2 levels off, BaRRaCCuDDa and Scary, they've already done it.
This is going to be a point where even teleport cooldowns matter at this point so critically. 90 seconds on the side of Benji. We see ScaryD still having his, so if he can keep Benji in the lane for one more wave and then teleport while Benji's just sitting there defending his tier 1, that could be a play that Luminosity forces a 5-on-4 fight.
And ScaryD D, right? He doesn't have a tier 1, so as long as he does have to be worried, right? You don't want that tier 2 split push potentially, because then it's almost, is it worth it for that Gold Fury at the same time?
As long as you're able to find the return kill, the return tower demolished,
Yeah.
then it wouldn't be a bad idea. But at the same time, you have to look for something with a power play. And if you're going to be warding this aggressively and you see Denial are always grouped up, what else can you realistically do?
Well, LG still think they have the power play option here. Looking for that Gold Fury again. JeffHindla only level 13. Something important to note here. He's not the tankiest Fafnir right now. And LG are just clearly baiting, and Denial call him on their buff completely. Homiefe going in, finding the knock-up on a BaRRaCCuDDa, but he's completely pulled away right now, and Homiefe forced to burn all his relics, still might not be able to get off.
There was a great zoning from Jeff. He dove into 3 or 4 members, used a dragon form, and Benji yet again zoning XenoTronics. This is what he's known to do in all of these teamfights so far. A nice little meditation from Luminosity, topping everybody up. Jeff's still in dragon form.
I think they noticed that Homiefe backed, they caught him, and now they know this is going to be a numbers advantage. Homiefe with no ult to close the gap, and it's a full commit from LG. They want this Gold Fury. The ults come through, and the Gold Fury does go to LG.
XenoTronics using his ultimate just to confirm it, gets rooted out by Benji, forced to disengage. JeffHindla caught out of position. Homiefe making the rotation, cleaning this up.
The call is to disengage right now. They've given up on Scary D, protect yourself, but instead Massa actually decides to go back in, and his distraction might have been enough. Scary D, though, still getting chased down by Homiefe, but he's immediately pulled by Mass, trying to get the damage off. He can't find it. Scary D still so low. The meditation coming in. LG trying to hold on deep in their own jungle.
A nice sanctuary from Hurriwind, but he's going to be able to backflip away. BaRRaCCuDDa is in disapparate form. He can get the damage off that he needs. So that was a nice little ultimate by Hurriwind, cutting off the escape from Scary D, but no realistic follow-up now. It's a 5-on-4. JeffHindla respawning in 5 seconds.
LG, they got to give this up. XenoTronics still pushed up, needs to be careful there. The stun could be good. Shadowq actually taking a whole lot of poke, and Mass actually coming around. Denial very low. The ultimate gets stunned out, and the whoop is good too. Such a beautiful play from Denial.
That's what
there.
you need to do, but it still comes out, forcing the sanctuary from Vetium. He's gonna have to somehow survive, but he can't. Shadowq's belly flop was too late.
Oh, look at this. Homiefe in the sky. He is going to try and isolate Scary D. He's found the kill, just trying to escape, and XenoTronics pushes forward. Mast, there's so much mobility on Susano, but he switches targets over to Hurriwind. He backflips in his own tower. Mast still going for it, finds it, and escapes just barely. Shadowq can't find the knock-up under tower to answer back.
He knows the damage of himself and the tower, the mobility, everything had to be so calculating. He knew that he couldn't catch up to Homiefe, but instead went for the more guaranteed kill, but still not done yet. Benji getting aggressed on.
Wow. I mean, he picked up the Pestilence, but it was not enough to stop BaRRaCCuDDa's damage right now. I mean, that was a whole lot coming out from him. You can see that Ratatoskr finished online 2-0-2 for the Soul.
He's probably not done yet either. He's going into more defense now. This is more than likely going to be, it's either Hydronemine or Spectral Armor.
Like Spectral, it doesn't really get that much value. All you have is meditation, which
so I would rather
isn't going to be like actively used. It feels like that's more passive after team
It seems
fights.
like it's going to be the Hydronemine line trying to stay onto XenoTronics.
Yeah, just deal with him. And XenoTronics having a pretty respectable game himself, 2-0-4. And it was the Aussie into the Executioner, now starting to work on crit for him. Meanwhile, we see Hurriwind going more for that chin size build.
And in the air is Homiefe gonna land onto Mass. The Sanctuary, though, doing a great job. Even absorbed Hurriwind's ultimate. 2
ultimates burned right now, and Mass still gonna be able to get out. Now an opportunity for LG to maybe force a fight or a Fire Giant here. And they're gonna commit on to Shadowq. I don't know if that ult was necessary. That was...
They don't really care, honestly. They just want to see the poke that they have. They didn't have their main damage dealers, though. BaRRa and XenoTronics were rotating from the mid lane. Now, without the ultimate from Mask, it makes it difficult, but at the same time, now you don't have to worry about Homie and Hurriwind's ultimate.
And that's what's, like, Hurriwind's ultimate hasn't actually been able to be used effectively, right? Hurriwind on this Neith, like, the goal is to ult side lanes and get kills, but that just hasn't happened.
The strategy from Denial between these globals, between Neith and Ratatoskr, hasn't been really utilized in the early game because of all the wards, I would say, from Luminosity. The passive farming from BaRRaCCuDDa was not being able to shut down. As a result, he's just been having these items already finished, sitting at the top gold chart.
All right. Is that Spear of Desolation, or is he going for Magus?
How spicy are you feeling, BaRRa?
I feel like BaRRa's spicy. Yo, his Soul is one of the best, actually. I love watching BaRRaCCuDDa on Soul. This is like his new Apollo for me at this point.
I mean, if you think about Spear of the Magus, you're only complementing Fafnir damage with Spear of the Magus, right?
I mean, the thing is, he has the Obsidian Shard already, right? So it's like the cheap and efficient item. Like, if there's a big... I almost feel like he should go Spear the Magus and then sell it for Spear of Desolation when he gets to that. Because it's such a large jump from Tier 2 to Tier 3. Like, you're looking at over... What is it? I'm trying 1,700 to... It's like almost 2,000 gold jump, right?
Something like that. I know it's like 36... Around 3,600 gold completely.
We never see this item because it's like... It's so hard for mages to build into this, and mostly they'll go for like more CDR or defensive options instead of going for this huge damage item at the end.
The pace of this game, I wouldn't be surprised if that is going to be Spear of the Desolation, because despite only being up, I would say 5,000 gold, it's the 30-minute mark.
Yeah.
It's not that much. It's 1,000 gold per player, which gives maybe a nice power play to have that Spear of Desolation.
Luminosity, though, I mean, he's going to have to farm out for a while. Can we actually see gold in hand real quick? I'd like to see how much BaRRaCCuDDa has. So he has enough to finish if he wants Spear of the Magus. He's going for Desolation. He has to be.
It has to be at this point in time. He has the red buff to follow up off of those back left Harpies. Gold Fury is respawning in 10 seconds, and with red buff going to BaRRaCCuDDa, this is what Luminosity needs.
Like, the soul is going to be doing so much damage. It is ridiculous. You can see almost 500 magical power right now as that passive kind of stacks up. But once it gets the red buff too, it's going to be so... Oh, but look at this though. Denial actually trying to set up a pick on BaRRaCCuDDa. They know he's critical. He's
going to force into both relics, intercepting JeffHindla, the Hurriwind ulti. Beautifully done. And now Denial, they got what they came for. All they committed was one ultimate for double relics out of BaRRaCCuDDa.
And that's clean. You know Homiefe is going to be looking for BaRRaCCuDDa. And he has that window, right? The second Disapparate starts, you have that couple-second window to try and find the burst. He's got the Titan's Bane as well as the Spirit's Robe, so he's going to have a much easier time. LG, actually the one's forcing this, though.
And look how far back BaRRaCCuDDa is on the left-hand side. Homiefe is going into the sky. He's going to be landing onto BaRRaCCuDDa. Force the escape, though, from Xeno.
And there's the knock up there, and it actually is going to be good. BaRRaCCuDDa is barely going to be able to make it out. XenoTronics forced out as well. JeffHindla on that front line with ScaryD, just trying to poke out Denial, and they do so successfully. But Denial, they have an opportunity to start this gold up. BaRRaCCuDDa and XenoTronics forced back to base.
Such a clean engage from Denial, but then an even cleaner disengage from Luminosity. And now these three members, these frontline members, have to do something to stop this Gold Fury.
They're taking a long time to set this up, but it's really just a bait for a fight. Mast going to be forced to Sanctuary away as JeffHindla moves forward, just trying to body block and help him out.
And Benji trying to do his best job zoning. Going to find out JeffHindla, his dash is down, but going back into the regular form, does have the jump.
Just barely. Benji moving forward, can't close the distance, going to be knocked up, and another knock up as Shadowq just going to fall short. XenoTronics and BaRRaCCuDDa are back in, but the two carries are isolated by themselves. Airstrike's going to successfully get Xeno out, and BaRRaCCuDDa just outplays Homiefe straight up.
The Stellar Burst finally finding a kill with that red buff. That's why you have it. ScaryD finding Venom. He was too low. He didn't have his ultimate. Another Stellar Burst slowing down Shadowq.
I love what Shadowq's doing here, disengaging away from the rest of his team, which forces LG's carries away. But the issue is that ScaryD was still chasing down Hurriwind. Scary's not going to be able to go on this. There's no way. And he just backs off there. Gold Fury is an option for LG, but instead, they're actually just going to back, still licking their wounds.
They're going to go for Fire Giant because of these respawn timers from Denial. It's all 30 seconds at this point. The damage is going to be too strong for Denial to really handle. It's only Hurriwind and Benji up, and that's not enough to really steal the Fire Giant away. And now Spear of Desolation has been finished for BaRRaCCuDDa. This Fire Giant is going to get absolutely destroyed.
Denial cannot let BaRRa get a fight. If he resets his cooldowns, that Stellar Burst is going to be up instantly. That's way too scary to deal with. Fire Giant picked up, and ScaryD actually kills Hurriwind with the help of Mast there. I think Hurriwind was just a little bit surprised to see half of Luminosity that deep into his jungle.
Didn't even have the chance to use either of his relics, or didn't want to use it because he wants to try to have it in case the Phoenix Sieges start happening. Recognizing he was out of position 1v2, better safe to have it for a more important scenario.
LG now with a 10k gold lead, 33 minutes in, and I think Denial finally starting to feel the impact of being behind this game. Homiefe's level 20 though, and Vetium and Benji also level 20. Very important. Hurriwind still one level behind, but he's got kind of his core items that he needs.
This is where Luminosity is starting to bury the ground right now, or dig the ground right now.
They're digging the grave?
They're digging the grave right now for Denial to lay in, and it's going to be very important for Denial to really start holding on to these last two Tier 2 towers. Try to find somebody out of position. JeffHindla barely escaping that team fight on the left-hand side once his dragon form faded away.
Oh yeah, that was just like the worst timing ever to have that happen. And Gold Fury Gonna be shredded.
Because the thing is that even though that Jeff survived with 10% health and you don't expect him to come back into the fight, he will still stay there just to find coerces onto his carries.
Or even along like a stun, right? If he feels like he's in a position where he can't be dove, right? Find those long-range stuns after people have used their dashes, or, you know, Shadowq jumps in. Like, he can help out his team. And Jeff is that, like, selfless person. He will die for anyone on his team at any point in the game.
And it's a lot safer to find those long-distance safe plays with low health on a Fafnir than it is a Bacchus, for example, right? Bacchus, you have to kind of commit with the belly flop. Fafnir, you don't have to jump. You still find your other two abilities.
And the curse also heals you up. Like, the coerce also heals you up, which is important to note. So it's like, it's not like he's going to remain in critical life if he stays around here. But Fire Giant in hand, 11 kills to 5. LG here want to win this game and position themselves as a top team in North America.
I could still see Denial holding this potentially if Vetium can really find the damage that he needs to. You can never take for granted a late game magical hunter. Doesn't have full build, but he does have the red buff and he's sitting at level 20.
I feel like the biggest issue here is the composition he's against. We talked about it. There's so many knockups on the side of LG that I feel like Vetium is just forced to ult in a lot of positions where he doesn't want to, because he has to worry. He has to think about that potential to be chain knocked up.
And now Luminosity, after getting the last tower from Denial, gonna head towards the middle Phoenix. Shadowq looking for a belly flop. Hurriwind channeling his ultimate.
And Homiefe on the side as well with that Ratatoskr. He's got that semi-global ultimate. It's got a knockup component on it. But the issue is this time LG, they've got all their relics and FG online. I don't know if he has the damage to 100-0 BaRRaCCuDDa like he attempted to last time.
Now, Luminosity has so much time to work with. They have about a minute and 5 seconds on this Fire Giant buff before they really can commit.
They are not feeling any pressure at all right now, taking it very slow. Jeff, he's going to be the first in, finds the ult, and Shadowq getting shredded by these double hunters. BaRRaCCuDDa wasting no time going for the Phoenix here. He's going to switch his target off to Homiefe as he dives in. And the Sanctuary, it's going to be good, just keeping him alive. The Phoenix has already fallen here, and LG, they don't look phased. There's not a single person that's taken more than 5% of their health and damage. Shadowq now trying to make an impact, jumps forward, and is just turned on.
Just like that, BaRRaCCuDDa finding the first kill. JeffHindla diving in the back with Scary D. She'll be able to pick the left side, but in the back line, so much damage onto BaRRaCCuDDa. Homiefe is going to fall. Benji trying to find the return kill, finds it, but can he escape?
I mean, there's already 3 dead. This is the issue. Benji makes 1 kill, but it was at the cost of Homiefe diving in and dying himself. 2 Phoenixes down, and right now, LG could probably just pile in. Still 4 members alive. They have the Fafnir, they have the Coerce. They don't have Fire Waves, though.
No, they don't, but they have Jing with the Coerce. That's enough damage as long as they have the front line tanking this Titan and getting Benji off of their backline. Scary D finding the stun. Does potentially not going to fall, though. Xeno's still going to focus this Titan. It's around about half health or so. I don't think they can commit.
This is going to be close
They're
here.
low.
You can see the power pop popped from Benji as well. He knows this is a critical fight. XenoTronics too low, getting chased down. The Sanctuary keeps him alive, and the Fire Minions finally have made their way into the mid lane, and XenoTronics kiting in between the minions and Benji. Doesn't even matter. Masked JeffHindla, Scary D pile into the Titan room, finish it off, and LG. This is going to be a very exciting split.
It was a very
This is going to be a very exciting split.
It was such a calculated game out of both of these teams, honestly.
Yeah.
Waiting for that right opportunity. We also saw it in the first game of the last set, where both teams were just waiting for their right opportunity in these team fights, you know, forcing out relics. 1 engage forces out relics. 2nd engage forces out ultimate. 3rd engage, all right, we're going to find a kill here, finally.
And we saw the back and forth, right? And there was also, like, not only the TPs from the Soul Landers, but you also had Homiefe with the semi-global ultimate. You also had Jing with their passive, so XenoTronics could leave a fight, come back in, not have to worry about too much. Yeah, it was very, like, push and pull, just, like, trying to, like, what can we get out of you here without overcommitting ourselves? And then finally, in the end, it kind of just came down to that 1 Gold Fury fight.
Absolutely. Once BaRRa found the farm, he was just so far ahead, I would say, item-wise, compared to the enemy hunter. And basically, he got so much damage off to the point where Denial, their strategy of the globals between Ratatoskr and the Neith, it wasn't effective enough to really snowball them in the early game.
I'd say that, I mean, that was very similar to the Eager game earlier today, where we saw Eager versus Envy. Envy ran the Ravana. As well.
Isis middle, Nemesis.
And they tried to snowball the early game, but like Eager just positioned themselves so well, and that kind of felt the same where Hurriwind and Homiefe really couldn't find any gank attempts.
Yeah, and then that 1 death, unfortunately, in mid lane to Hurriwind, where he got knocked up once and then couldn't really find the ground that he needed to get the backflip off.
That was brutal, man. There was 4 knockups as well as a pull in that composite. Like, what are you going to do as Hurriwind? What are you going to do as Vetium, right? Against that, right? You're a Freya. You need to, like, be left alone somehow. But there's this